Thanks very much, David. And if you do get a chance, call down to the stand. Some of the people I'm going to be talking about today are down here. We have Thomas Rush, one of our farmers and beekeepers, Ross McDonald and Noel Carroll as well, all very great community activists, very well respected in the local communities. Trust and science are two words that should really go together, but sometimes it depends on who delivers the message that will have the science seeping through. The group water scheme sector has been implementing source protection measures now for probably 7 or 8 years at this stage. And as we put the science together, we work with a number of partners. Now, my apologies to Bernie White. We're missing Lowpro in there. I only spotted that this morning. But the people that we work with, we work in partnership. We have a structured network and we have informal networks as well. And these networks are so important to us as we try to get the best science that's available. But it's not just the science that matters. It's actually implementing the science that is key to what we're trying to achieve. I remember about 10 years ago, I got a health and safety document. It was a massive folder. Looked very, very impressive, but it ended up on a shelf. So the science that we have has to be accessible to everybody. Now, I'm going to talk about the group water scheme story. The sector was set up primarily in the 70s. They were to provide water for families and for their farms. They're community-owned, and they're managed by elected community leaders, many of whom are farmers. That's a very, very structured network. Now, in the photograph there was a friend of mine who passed away earlier on this year, a farmer called John Tiernan, and he was instrumental in setting up the group schemes down in a place called Killeen, which is the far side of Louisburg. If you're ever going to Westport, keep going, some fantastic beaches back there. Now, John, like many people who are involved in the sector, is involved in other activities as well. John was the oldest serving member of the Order of Malta in Louisburg. He drove the school bus, very well known in the area. He was also involved in raising money for cancer charities. And it's people like John who are involved in the sector that are well respected within their community. And if they deliver the scientific message that we prepare, it gets listened to because they're trusted. Some of the people I spoke about, Ross, Thomas, and Noel Carroll, who hopefully you get a chance to meet them later on today. They've been instrumental in delivering the message for us. And I tend to use the word we a lot. And Barry, our boss, reminded me yesterday, talk about they and talk about them instead of talking about we. But because I'm not closely tied in with the whole process, I use the word we. But if I use that, it's the guys I'm talking about. Noel Carroll here, he's standing beside a water fountain in Tulsk in County Roscommon. Very proud of this fountain, put up outside the school. We give all the school children on the scheme reusable containers, reusable cups. They bring them home. I know we called out there one day last week to measure how much water has gone through it, and there's 49,000 litres gone through that fountain. That's amazing for a school of 150 people on a main road. So the message that we're trying to get across is the group scheme is here for the community. It's not just about water. It's about reusable plastics as well. It's about biodiversity. It's about climate. And by sharing that message, by making the water for everybody, including people within the community, it's getting people on board. There's an infographic there which kind of shows our model. The group scheme, the federation, are well respected by the individual group schemes. They're trusted. We trust the schemes. They trust us. The group schemes are trusted by the farmers. And like Ella, we love the farmers as well. The narrative there of blaming farmers for everything is only going to drive that wedge. And what we found is if you encourage farmers, if you create the right environment for them to come on board, they will step up to the mark and they will become leaders in the community. And that's very, very key to what we're trying to achieve. So words do matter and the narrative matters. What we found in the sector as well is that if we can get one model farmer on board in the community, he will tell other farmers will come to them, so farmers trust each other as well. So again, we're not going in with a big stick telling people they're destroying the environment. We're giving people the tools. We're creating the environment. And the people in the photograph are key to doing that. Change takes time. And our actions are based upon science. The two photographs at the top of the page there are fields of a place up in Cavan, actually. And we knew from day one that we had to convert probably a hectare of land in that field to block pathways, also to enhance biodiversity as well. Now, if we went into that farmer straight away and said, give us a hectare of your land, you'd be ran out of the place. So this journey takes time. That farmer has been farming that land for a certain way for many generations. So again, it takes visits from the managers, from the community leaders within the schemes to convince the farmer of what he has to do. Now, one of the other challenges that we face as well are the barriers. And if you look at the photograph there at the bottom of the page, you'll see some trees with a heifer within the trees. I'll never forget the first farmer that I visited in County Roscommon with Noel Carroll. We tried to convince the farmer to put trees along a water course. He took me up to a piece of farm around his house, showed me that this area had been redlined. He lost his basic farm payment for putting trees there. So we have to acknowledge that there are barriers there, whether they're real barriers or whether they're actual barriers that the farmer fears themselves. Like when you speak to farmers, there is a fear of a loss of basic farm payment. There's a fear in a delay of a farm payment if they make changes to their land. There's also a social isolation as well. And we've seen that, there is a blame game from certain environmentalists, blaming farmers for doing things. And there's also a sense of pride on your farm as well. Like if you let a section of your farm rewild, you might get your neighbors coming along and think that you're lazy. So, we have to take into account for this, which take people on a journey. There's also the time it takes to do all of these measures as well. Putting in these measures takes time, it takes headspace. Farmers are busy, they have families, they have bills to pay. And we're asking them to do something that is a benefit for greater society. There's the cost of the measure, and there's also a loss of grazing area as well. So we're very fortunate, actually, and I get to talk about partnerships. The Department of Agriculture has come on board, along with the Department of Housing as well, to work on a joint project where the Department of Housing is actually funding the science and the Department of Agriculture are funding the measures. So again, we want to see more of that kind of partnership. We work with the principle of mutual respect. So we work with the farming community and the wider community as well. And this is really, really important. We want to create, I suppose, a society. We want to create a culture within the community that what the farmer is doing is rewarded and it's acknowledged as well. And that's important. We all like to get acknowledged for the work that we do. We also want to remove the barriers. And we have worked with the Department of Agriculture to do that. If we come across any barriers, the department will work with us on that. But our biggest, I suppose, the biggest area where we see improvements is direct actions with individual farm owners. And the bottom picture there on the right-hand side shows a pond that a farmer has put in, along with fenced-off drain as well, leading to a sinking stream. And again, we have a farmer who's given up his time, who's given up his land for the betterment of his local community. I suppose to create an environment, we wanted something engagement. And you often hear the word community engagement, and it has to be engaging. It has to be something that people can get interested in. So we come up with the Let It Be initiative. And that's actually linking water with biodiversity and climate. Again, these are things that sound very obvious, but it's only like when you get onto the ground and talk about these things that people will really listen. In County Roscommon, and David mentioned our beehives down below, we have one of our beekeepers with me here as well today, Thomas, and we have some honey, so please do call down to us. We came up with a plan of giving a farmer a beehive. And they were fairly key farmers in their local communities. They would have been intensive farmers. So we gave him the beehive. He had to mind the bees. He needed to create a habitat for the bees to eat, hedgerows, wildflowers, and also watch his pesticide usage, because pesticides can kill bees as well. And what it did is it created a narrative within the community. Because Thomas will tell you, bees can fly up to 22,000 acres from their hive. So what you do is you go out, he's got his neighbours involved now as well. So it's not just a matter of giving somebody a beehive, it's getting them to get invested in the process. One of our farmers that we gave a beehive to planted 4,500 hedgerows, 4,500 hedge plants. Another farmer gave up a space of 3,600 square metres for wild meadow. We have a farmer come on board through Peter Comer in ASAP, who's given 2 acres to rewild for wild meadow. So again, it's giving something. It's not pointing a finger, pointing a stick at somebody. It's giving something to somebody. We can't give beehives to everybody. So we also came up with a program called I've Planted a Tree and My Garden is Pesticide Free. And we worked very closely with Roscommon County Council on this, and Noel Carroll championed this. And originally, this was planned just for 1 or 2 schools in Roscommon, but then COVID hit. So we said, okay, we build an online program and build literature that we can send out to more people. And so far, 15,000 children have planted a tree and gone pesticide free. And you're getting people to make a statement. You're getting people to get involved and invested in nature. They're planting a native tree. They're getting information on how to go pesticide free in their gardens. And domestic pesticides are a big problem for us as well. And Ross, one of our farmers, has seen that in Stranooden, where he's worked in catchments where farmers have been invested in their boom sprayers, but urban catchments have shown increase in pesticides as well. So we have to be aware that it's not just the farming community. There's also, if I get time at the end of it, there's a lovely initiative in County Roscommon as well, where Thomas Rush got a workshop involved for a mental health workshop. And people who received the service from the mental health workshop made these bee hotels for us, and they were sent out to over 300 homes in an area as well. And it created the link between mental health, and it involved an element of society that's often isolated as well. All of our information follows the science. We have direct actions, the right measure, the right place, the right farmer, and it's voluntary participation. The top right-hand map there shows a red area, which identified an area which had the highest phosphate loading. We broke that down to an individual farm, and an intensive farmer gave us a very significant barrier to protect overland flow. Again, we have a farmer who wanted to get involved. It was a voluntary program. We provided the fence, but the farmer allowed us to put it in, give up land for the good of the community. And again, it's like Ella said, the farmers are our friends as well. We have to work with them. The right measure in the right place is something we talk about, and people often talk about a new program that might come in. This photograph was in Roscommon. The farm on the left-hand side and the one on the right-hand side have 2 completely different measures. So it's not just as easy as having a program with a carte blanche measure. You have to have the right measure in the right place. And just an interesting fact there as well, one of the barriers that we encountered was a fear of basic farm payment. And both of these farmers have gone up and above the regulation, what's required. But if they do that, we have to get a letter from ASAP. We have to get maps put in as well. So again, if you have a farmer who's doing things for the betterment of his society, he has to do a lot of paperwork to do that. Now, we facilitate that, but again, it's another barrier. You hear someone trying to do something good, and they get penalised for doing it. It's not just about measures as well. We're very lucky. I see Kieran Kenny here as well. We've worked with Kieran Kenny and his colleague Donal on having farm days as well, both for pesticides and for slurry spreading. Now, contractors, we wanted to include contractors, but in order to include the contractors, they had to take time off work. So we gave them a payment to attend a course. So again, it's okay including people, but if they're going to lose money to be included, they have to be compensated in some way. Ross McDonald had a problem with pesticides in his area. He knew it was coming from the boom sprayers. They went out, they retrofitted 67 boom sprayers with low drift nozzles. These are things that farmers don't have to do, so we did it for them. And this has seen a 40% reduction in the use of MCBA in the subcatchment. I like this picture. What we do is every farmer that gets involved, we give them a plaque. We give them recognition, social recognition of what they're achieving. And you can see the happiness, you can see the joy in their faces. They're really proud to get involved in this project. One of our farmers, Andy Freeman there, beside Petra in the bottom, he received a plaque as well, but he wouldn't take it out of his house in case he broke it or in case he damaged it. He said he'd never been given anything like this before. So, to hear stories like that, to hear people that are embedded in your community want to help, want to do something, and feel a sense of pride, it's really special to us. Ella spoke about an open day there in, I think it was Luxembourg, We do that in our catchments as well. We acknowledge and celebrate the achievements. We have open days. We had Shannon Side Northern Sound there. We get the local people who were involved. We give them a voice to tell their story to encourage other people. We had farm walks. We had training. We used all forms of media. We used videos. Again, we give them plaques. We had a group down from the Royal College of Surgeons and DCU. We're trying to measure the impact that this has on people's well-being and happiness, because if you look at them, they look very happy, people involved. And Trudy Meehan from the Royal College of Surgeons asked Tommy Farrell, how did he feel when he got the plaque? And he said he felt like the cat that got the cream. And to hear something like that, and then you hear the other side of, farmers being blamed for everything that's been wrong in society. If we give the farmers the tools, they will come on board. Again, there's a bit more text on this slide here. I'm getting near the end now. The project I spoke about there with the Royal College of Surgeons and DCU, we know we're onto something special here. We know by the actions that are being implemented, we know by the reaction from the farmers that there's something special happening down here. But we want to look at this from their benefit, from a physical benefit as well. We are working on a project that will look at the impact of water conservation on their psychological and physical well-being, and the same as they implement source protection measures as well. And we feel that if we can find out why people are doing these things and how they feel about it, it will encourage more people to get involved. Our project was recognised at a European level. It won a European B Award, and again, that's down to the work that the guys on the ground are doing, getting people involved, their communities, and it also won an award for cooperative innovation as well. Again, what we're trying to do is we're trying to reward farmers for their actions. We're trying to acknowledge them at a social level as heroes within their own community for the work that they're doing. And we're also trying to let other people as well know that everyone has a role to play in their community as well. Now, I have a very short video. It's a nice little project that Thomas Rush, one of the guys on the stand, organised with the Mental Health Service Unit in County Roscommon. If you could play it there, it's about 2 minutes long. The main objectives of this project were to protect our water sources, but as this project has developed, the diverse benefits have become much more evident. We're also seeing improvements in biodiversity, a reduction in the use of pesticides. But to me, what really stands out are things that are hidden in rural Ireland. The need to highlight mental health needs and the importance of inclusion. Thomas, one of our managers, has teamed up with the rural training workshops in Roscommon to make bee hotels. And this part of our project really captures the ethos of what the Group Water Scheme section is all about.
Well, what I have here in my hand at the minute now is called the Bee Hotel. We're delighted to be involved in making these for the project. They're basically made of timber, and there's holes drilled in them and a little roof, and they are for the bugs. I think they'll be absolutely delighted, because it'll be something different for them, and they'll get enjoyment out of doing it, and at least they'll see something at the end of their project, and it's a great initiative for them to do something like this. I'm just delighted to be involved in it, and it's great to be asked to do it, and we can help out in any way we can. We'll help out,
There's a lot of stigma attached to mental health, and the only way we can take away stigma is having the mental health people involved in the community, so people can see that you can suffer from diabetes, it's an illness. You can suffer from mental health, it's an illness. We can live with it, and that would be something that I'd be looking forward to seeing, that the more people is involved in the community, the less stigma is attached to mental health.
Well, I think it's an opportunity to expand the awareness across the entire scheme of the need to protect the environment, to be more aware of what we're using in the line of pesticides and sprays, and the need to be aware of the biodiversity of the habitats around about us. Or the bugs don't travel as far, so it's closer to the people where they're living, and if they become aware of the environment and the need to protect the environment around their own houses, it'll naturally progress to a wider area, which will improve the water quality, hopefully, over our entire scheme.
We're very grateful to Con and Andy and the team for their help in this project. Without their inclusion, this project will not be as successful as it is. That video kind of shows as well the importance of inclusion. When Thomas is going out, he delivers the bee hotels to different houses in the community. It's a conversation starter. We all know how difficult it's been over the last couple of years. Probably our own mental health has suffered as well. But by encouraging people to get out in nature, by encouraging people to take their active role in the community as well, what this element of the project has added is very significant. That's everything. Thanks very much.